Okay. How's everyone?
Oh, good, bro.
Welcome on.
It's my round 2 of Kev today. We're back on it again. I need to. I've got a lot of video editing after this to do. I've got about 4 videos to do. I've perfected the art of it now. I've perfected it. Just keep it raw. I like it raw.
I bet you do.
Someone has to clip that. Someone clip that.
I'm not clipping it. I'm leaving it in. It's raw.
You're editing that out already.
I like it raw. I just realized, like, it must be quite good for you guys in the UK to have a bit of power behind the pound now.
For how long now?
My wallet still looks the same way.
A little bit of relief for the pound, like you're not completely dead yet.
Yeah.
What do you think will happen with this BRICS thing? Do you think the UK will move over as well? Or?
Do you know, I think that's a really good question, and I think it's possible that it's already started to happen. So there was a few things, I shared a few of them with Nick earlier today, actually. I'll pull them up, that have kind of got my attention. Where did I send it across?
I think the short answer would be they'd want to piggyback off of it, but like to form like some sort of like be part of the coalition is just, yeah, I don't think that's going to be looked upon favorably by the big boys across the pond, right? But
yeah, I don't see that.
With our mates in India is certainly an interesting story.
Yeah, where's the I'm trying to pull up those links.
Is it true that they're like mobilizing in Mexico? I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but someone was telling me how Mexico are looking to join BRICS, but it sounded like it'd be another Ukraine situation.
Mexico was looking to make. I think I posted something in the group that it was already on the cards, or they put their nomination. I did find something. I'll pull that back up as well. But
it's
in regards
same thing with Russia, isn't it? They're not going to have missiles on the border like America would ultimately invade Mexico if that was the case, wouldn't it?
Well, it becomes like a Cuban Missile Crisis, doesn't it? That kind of situation.
Yeah.
Having it right on the border. But is that any difference from having Ukraine in NATO or under the EU? It's kind of like
the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a similar situation. And the Mexicans seem...
The thing is with Europe aren't funding it, are they? Like Europe don't want to get behind it, whereas the US are heavily funding that Ukraine, are they? Like if you're saying there, if Mexico become part of BRICS, it's a little bit different, I think, than the Ukraine.
Do you think?
Just in the sense that obviously, with them being on the US's doorstep, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
I don't know, like obviously Ukraine's made some big moves to obviously join the EU, but I think what a big push was been to be included within NATO, and that kind of caused this domino effect of, Sweden, we want to be in NATO, and Poland, we want to be in NATO. So that's a military power, and I guess the BRICS to this day is not a military power. It's more of a financial power and a financial system and ideology. So to jump on a financial system that's probably a little bit more supportive of their local currency, I don't see it as a military intervention. I see it as more of a financial.
Yeah, but World War III is fought on the economic battlefield, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's one to pay attention to, like fucking.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you know what I mean?
I think China have got a longer term plan for global domination, and it's not using weapons.
Oh yeah, it's definitely not. Like right now, I thought it would be food and reserves, because they've gone past the whole lending money kind of situation, and now it's based on trade. So the deals that we looked into last week about with Brazil, it's okay. We're going to facilitate one trade. We're going to contribute X amount of exports from Brazil to China, and you have to import this amount from China into Brazil. So it's more stimulating for the economies.
With regards to Mexico, I speaking as an expert in Mexico because my ex-girlfriend was Mexican. So obviously I visited there a few times. The thing about like the difference between Ukraine and Mexico is Mexico's 3 times the size and 3 times the population and packed with the Chinese. Packed.
What,
Chinese
in
and
Mexico?
Japanese. Yeah. Auto parts manufacturing takes place there. Yeah.
Oh.
So like Toyota subcontract a lot of their brake manufacturing, for example,
Yeah.
to Mexico.
Small
It's
Mexican
actually,
town, something.
yeah, it's a what do you call it? Like kind of like a little manufacturing.
Yeah, Mexico has become one of those, like a little manufacturing hub on the western coast.
Yeah.
A lot more, I've seen a lot more sort of American companies. Enphase is one, and they've established manufacturing capability in Mexico in the last few years. So but this is everyone kind of trying to diversify and decentralize their manufacturing processes, because you get something like the pandemic and you suddenly realize how important it is to be limited to one supply chain.
That's when you realise China had the supply chain dominance, weren't it? It was a wake-up call. If that never happened, it would have carried on going on under the radar.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But it's just kind of, everyone's known and everyone spoke about it, but no one really made it, I guess, raised the alarm on it. It's only when your economy shut down and you're on the brink of like a depression that you kind of go, oh yeah, that's that's kind of a bad idea. These guys over there doing all of that.
Too little, too late now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, it's interesting. Like if you go with what was it, Michael? You were talking about the UK joined BRICS. I think in the last week, I have this kind of idea that it could be a possibility. The reason being is, let me share my screen. Sorry. So when the whole Russia sanctions stuff kicked off, the Indian government created this thing. Can you see my screen? Does it say Nostro account?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they created this Vostro account. Essentially, it's a Latin word which means like your bank, but it's a mechanism for trade and transactions where you have one bank, which would be, for example, in our Indian scenario, the Indian bank, which holds and manages the transactions. So it will hold the money of another country within its bank, and that's what a Vostro means. So they moved quickly to create this Vostro account as a way to facilitate trade in rubles and sit outside of the sort of SWIFT financial system. Now, this system is now being copy-pasted, which I think is really, really interesting. So who's on the list is the UK and Germany. So you've got 2 big European countries on there, and 2 that I would say have had straining relationships with the EU in the recent years. But like you've got 17 countries that are looking to trade with India through using the rupee. So that's a huge amount of global trade that moves away from the US dollar. So forget about like just the petro transactions in dollar and oil transactions in dollar, but the releasing this, and this is really important because especially if China is also on board with this, and they are, because the yuan has grown significant dominance in cross-border transactions, is you end up like as China is the manufacturing hub of the world essentially, is you've then got a mechanism to monopolize trade transaction currencies. So India is obviously decentralizing this and opening it up, but it also alleviates a lot of the pressures on these smaller economies that don't have a lot of US dollar liquidity, who've kind of been bent over by the US for the last, or for decades, essentially since the US US dollar took reserve currency status. But you've got Fiji, Germany, Guyana, Israel, Kenya, Malaysia, Mauritius, Myanmar. So Myanmar's a sanctioned country, US sanctioned country. I think that's quite an important term.
Israel's a shocking one, isn't it?
Like there's no beef between Israel and India at all. So you got
Obviously,
Oman.
Israel heavily backed by the US. I just didn't think they'd bite the hand that feeds them.
See, this is the thing. So since the Israeli government's been moving more and more right, it's kind of been playing against the US. And this is where I think there is a possible point of unification in the region where, okay, we create a solution that works here. And you've had China broker these relationships with Saudi and Iran, and I assume we'll have the UAE. Oh, that's another point to mention, is that the UAE is already, I think the UAE will be the second country that will be using this, what's it called, Vosco account with India.
It's the Myanmar as well, isn't there? A proxy war going on in Myanmar.
Yeah, that's another one. Like any, so generally with these proxy wars, it's generally it's cause for a coup, and that is the U.S. military-industrial complex who favors the military. So the same happened in Pakistan recently when they ousted Imran Khan. They've ousted him through the military intervention, and the military is backed by the U.S. government. And if you speak to any like Pakistani, they're all for Imran Khan. They don't actually support the military at all, or the leadership that's currently in place.
It's just like a military coup.
Yeah, these wars are getting these proxy wars are getting very sloppy. Like I would say years ago, you wouldn't be able to kind of pull it apart and understand what the mechanics and who was actually fighting who in it. But this is clear as day what it is.
Yeah, news travels a lot faster now, doesn't it? It's like you can see the whole picture in a couple of days.
Exactly. So this is an interesting one. And then another point on this is that like US and EU relations are now kind of, I would say they're tense through all of this. With from the beginning of Nord Stream, it's all been a mechanism for the US to kind of monopolize trade with the EU. The US was heavily favoring Brexit because it was a way for them to kind of facilitate a trade deal with the UK. And I think Nick's was talking about this earlier with me, which is the UK-Asia trade deal, which is bound to piss them off. And this is an interesting one because it's a free trade deal. And like politics aside, like I looked at a Brexit point of view and the arguments for it, and I didn't understand why a free trade deal wouldn't be possible with the EU or with any other region. And this just goes to prove that it is possible when all of the hoo-ha was a little bit unnecessary in regards to that particular point. But like this is going to have a huge contribution to the UK economy. And I believe I've seen some other reports that this would potentially pull the UK out of a potential sort of recession. Well, what else did you come up with, Nick, on this one?
Yeah, I think it's still pretty early news by the looks of things, and it's pretty modest gain by the OBR that they've predicted. But I think just almost from a just a power play perspective that we're looking towards. I think the trade deals by the US under the Biden administration, he's made it categorically clear it's not a priority. Whether when Trump was in office, and Bojo was obviously on the PM desk, it's something they were actively working towards is a big US UK deal. And Biden's kind of shrugged it off for the last 2 years, and now look, now UK is coming a little bit closer to APAC, and I don't know how the US is going to view that. I mean, it's a small sort of change in GDP, but it just shows, when the UK feels a little bit neglected, it's good that we're actually looking elsewhere. And you kind of saw post Brexit the media, kind of instilling into everyone that it's impossible for the UK to strike a free trade deal with anywhere else. And I think Australia was always on the cards. We've done a deal with them, I think, over beef. Yep. New Zealand as well. And it's possible. It's just how large a deal it may be, but you've got to start with these small sorts of deals to sort of grow your relationships, I feel.
This is definitely a big one as well. I think considering the region that you're pulling that trade in, like it would support the Asian region a hell of a lot. One that's obviously been suffering with liquidity issues, and I guess post-pandemic hasn't really done the best. So that whole ASEAN territory I see to benefit a lot more. I guess it's actually better for the world, I guess you could say, from one perspective. Yeah, it's a strange time. There's everything's getting
a lot of money. That's a lot of money that goes to India from here. I think it's like 12% of India's remittance is from UAE.
Really?
Yeah, there's a fucking lot of money, like for your general peeps. Wait, let's see.
I've got something here. Let's take a look. Any breakdowns?
Oh, there you go.
Number one reverse.
Yep.
Wow. And you consider what this place is in terms of a landmass, and then compared to even the US,
Yeah. Population located in here as well. I mean, still 36% of the population, but that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's sad as well. The UK is so low down as well, given our historical relationship. It's just it's nowhere.
Yeah, very strange.
We'll
Like,
have to know if obviously, like, say, could we still up the dealings with India, but not with BRICS? Do you know what I mean? Or is that still, it's still classed as dealing with BRICS, isn't it?
well, there's no reason. Like, I think the UK is really in a position to make its own choices right now. They're not part of a club, but they're. I guess under Bojo there was this position to be part of a club.
We think we're part of the US club still. We're
Yeah.
not part of the US club, but as long as we don't do anything outside of our comfort zone and just answer to the US, then we'll be fine. So it's almost like it's a lose-lose scenario, like that the US have, and how they view the UK, and like we've kind of just been playing the small guy for so long now,
51st
that I'm
state.
actually kind of glad that we've actually gone outside our comfort zone and tried to do something what's best for the citizens inside of the UK, not managing out our foreign counterparts. That is what a nation state does, is it not? And like I'm glad it's a small deal, but yeah, I'm glad it's a step in the right direction in that.
It shows the US is legitimately losing power, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's funny, like obviously you've got the first brown leadership in the UK right now, but it's probably the first time you haven't got a brown nosing prime minister. I can say that because I'm brown.
Yeah. I mean, Rishi's like an interesting one, right? I don't want to politicize myself too much, but comes from Goldman, globalist, kind of World Economic Forum type of guy. He's not too dissimilar, I think, from those who have kind of been in power before. So yeah, he's still. I'm yet to be impressed. I think at least with Truss, and not to get too much onto like domestic politics or UK politics, I think with Truss, at least she was willing to rock the boat and do something that was completely left field and almost like very capitalistic. Because at the end of the day, there's a blue government in office at the moment, which is a conservative. I don't really see how the Conservatives have governed with any conservative values in the last 10 years, I would say. I don't really see nearly any difference between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. I feel like they're the same party.
Well, this is the thing, why it's so agenda driven is that the UK actually, that's a really good point you brought out there, because you'd expect this from the more left leaning to be the more liberal, and you're getting the same mirrored policies across all of Europe, across the US, as if it's regardless of the party or the faction. That's interesting.
Because it's massively affected by external sources, the US, Europe, the WEF, right? The climate agenda that we have at the moment too. Truss was willing to bring back fracking. The UK has, I think we've got $2.5 trillion of natural gas deposits around our country, which we're not drilling into. We just purchased it from Russia, well, China now, at a huge premium, when we could just literally be drilling for it ourselves, and we could probably plug our whole deficit.
Norfolk is the oil and gas, or it was the gas hub of the UK, and it's where a lot of, and the North Sea as well, where a lot of the UK and a lot of the oil and gas experience that dominates now the Middle East region came from.
Yeah, and it's all about policy, and that's what Truss was trying to move forward to. But got blocked straight away. So what she said she would do, I think she did it far too quickly. But she tried to deliver on something that got her in the office in the first place. And then when she tried to deliver on it, obviously there was a huge guilt crisis, and the Bank of England were going crazy, pension funds were going crazy, and then they just ousted her out after 40 days. It's a contrary view to what the media has stipulated, but it's someone that's actually been in power and kind of given some power back to the average person, I think, opposed to, let's say, the elite.
Yeah, it is. I completely agree with you, and I don't know, as maybe a female leader, a second female leader in the UK, and to come after Margaret Thatcher, who I guess was probably one of a very strong leader, and her policies were very contradictory to, I guess, what most politicians were doing at the time, and she made quite an impact. So I guess to follow in that path, I can only you can only kind of guess what was going on with it, going on in her head.
Like there was obviously a huge like pound crisis, right? When Trustnomics, like yes, it should have been a more staggered approach. You know, we should have cut taxes at a slower rate. We should have put the plan in, but it was all too sudden for the markets. It was all far too scary. This is obviously in hindsight, of course, but essentially, like the way our government is governing at the moment is, to create strength in our economy, we're managing that by monetary and fiscal policy. We're not managing it by actually building up our deposits of gas and oil, and actually creating, an economy which is, has a backbone of value. It's just almost, oh, right, okay, let's try and plug the deficit a little bit more. Where can we claw back some money? Shall we, let's raise interest rates X amount, let's, raise fiscal agenda as well. It's actually not, how can we change the kind of foundation, fundamentally, the value of what our country brings to potentially an investor? I don't see that agenda. It's just, I think it's very kind of repetitive, and it doesn't actually reflect the conservative values that the British people have put the Conservative government in office for, and what they voted Boris. Pretty much why Bojo is in office was because he promised a lot of this, and it just never got delivered, unfortunately. Anyone outside of this call, whenever I speak to Aaron about the UK, honestly, this country could be so great, and like we have all the tools for it to be great. We're just governed by people that just aren't up for the job, I don't think.
No, but yeah, amen to that one.
Yeah, amen to that, mate. Country's gone down now.
Very proud to be British as well, and it's sad, but
he normally says he's Australian.
Yeah, so when I do my Australian call in the mornings, anyway, I'm Australian then, but now I'm British. So when I talk to Aaron, about the UAE and that sort of setup, and there's just been, whenever I speak to anyone in the industry, like finance, tech, there's just a huge cull of people just in London, in the UK, just moving over to Dubai, because it's a better environment for, for example, an entrepreneur or someone who's willing to, actually get value back for what they pay for.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's one of those things that I hear you actually just get what you put in. Like if you're willing to put the 24 hours a day in kind of situation, and direct that energy in the right areas, it pays. And it just comes to having the right tools in place within the country that foster that kind of innovation, opportunity, creativity. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. And like crypto here, like it's every time I'm going into like a new retailer, and it's like where you would see, there used to be these boards and it would say Visa, MasterCard, and that used to be all it was. And then it was Visa, MasterCard, and then there was like the China Pay and WePay for like the Alipay, and then WePay. And then now you're getting accepts crypto, and you've got BTC, ETH, stable coins, Tether along the line. And this is like at most venues now. And you're getting properties being transacted in crypto and managed in crypto. It's super like, I don't know, it's interesting, like the way that they've allowed it to kind of find its own feet here, and people are being open to it in terms of innovation. It's very thriving, and like places like Singapore as well. I think there was a study that was done, and I think 6 out of 10 people in Singapore, I don't want to be misquoted here, but 6 out of 10 people have invested in crypto in Singapore.
It would be very likely as well, because there's a huge Chinese, population there that obviously can't invest through mainland. So you would expect that.
Yeah, exactly. But the guys, Liam got logged out and let him back in. but the way they're allowing the innovation to come out. And what's interesting, actually, like I don't want to say too much about it, but and you'll find out why, but they released an article 2 weeks ago about the CBDC here in the UAE. And
Okay.
if you think of what the comments would be in the UK or the US if this was, or the EU, for example, if they were releasing a CBDC here, like there was nothing, there was no negativity, nothing.
Yeah.
No one would.
What is his stance on CBDCs, Aaron, at present?
No one. There's no clarity. There has been zero clarity in regards to it at all. I wouldn't even say there's been any, like they've been actively exploring it for the last 3 years. But there's nothing in regards to what kind of utility. Like they haven't been open like they have in the World Economic Forum and in the UK with what they're saying that it can do.
Kind of goes against what why people have moved to the UAE. I feel if they then start issuing a CBDC.
Well, look, there's no reason why they can't issue one to I guess interact with government services. Like for example, like I haven't signed into it, but they've done it quite interestingly, where they've given you a Web 1.0 interface and essentially like a Web 2.5 interface. So what they've created is this centralized login credential for anything that engages or interacts with UAE government services. So it's called UAE Pass. And like you've registered, like they've got your data already on an Emirates ID card. So it's got all that data. It's got like your health certificates, for example, but you can then just press UAE Pass, and I guess it does like a biometric, and it will take you into whatever government application that you're trying to interact with. So that's, I would say, Web 2.5. So they're almost there.
Who are they like obviously when they first put like the mandate out to get this CBDC and the programs and applications around it being installed, who have they brought on externally to actually like build that out for them? Like who have they hired?
I think that was actually mentioned in the article. Let me pull up a browser. Give me a second.
There was people from the Ripple team involved in setting up CBDCs in the UAE.
Was it?
So, yeah, there was the meeting. I think I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. There was a big meeting, one of the economic ones. But there was the guy who was like the right-hand man in Ripple was sat next to the sheikhs. It was big news for the XRP army. Obviously, all the speculation around it, but the chief of the fucking CBDC, the UAE fucking digital assets. He admitted that there's no direct workings with any company so far when he was talking in a different call. But obviously there is evidence of these people being in conversation, so it's all just speculation at the moment. But yeah, there's a guy within the UAE government who's like from the Ripple team, and he's been helping them set it up.
Yeah, if we go here,
was that announced a while back? Was it? Did you send me that ages ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but it was.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, now you mentioned it, lad. He was like his friends to the Royals or something.
Yeah.
Fucking big news, man. XRP Army, go. Gets me excited on XRP, this man.
But look, this is a list of countries that have CBDC. So you've got Nigeria who've launched it, and like I don't know, has anyone actually been paying attention to what happened in Nigeria when they tried this? They had a big rush of people that just went and bought Bitcoin, and there's even a load of alternate currencies as well that they're using to transact with.
There's a lot of Binance Pay, big Binance Pay infrastructure in Nigeria, I think, as well. Isn't it?
And Bahrain is really interesting. How much Binance Pay infrastructure has been put in place. It's essentially another option for Visa and MasterCard.
My theory with this is it's not going to be naturally adopted. It's going to be forced either through an economic crash where the solution to the problem is the CBDC, or either through a gradual phase out of cash. So they'd start with like kind of benefits and stuff like that, anyone on income allowance, they'd be paid in CBDCs. That'd stop them then giving it to drug dealers or doing
So
anything dodgy with
that's
it.
why they've mentioned the 20k cap, is it? Do you reckon?
Yeah. Well, that's to also stop the rich, well, poor people getting rich, isn't it? If you can't save your money,
Yeah.
it's creating that
Yeah,
wealth
but
divide again.
that's what they're gonna say though, isn't it? Like, obviously, if they're gonna go down a universal credit route, that you've got a 20k cap. It's just that's what gets me about it. The 20k cap. I don't like that, man.
If it's a time cap as well, like, you know, corporations could massively exploit that, because let's say you have like 2 weeks and 5k left to spend, you know, corporations will just increase their prices because you've got to spend it, and they'll just make larger margins. Like
That's a good point.
That the average person can be exploited here, which is strange because they're not getting exploited at all right now.
It's all the little things, isn't it? Where it's like fucking, you can't put money in birthday cards, you can't lend a friend a bit of cash, or like little small transaction, foreigner jobs as well. If you're working away from your company, doing a little job on the side, it's
all
it's
documented.
a way. Yeah, it's full control. It enables more taxes, more
They know
tracking of the
exactly
currency.
the cash flow. They can see every bit of cash flow, and they can adopt monetary policy accordingly. Can't they? It's just, it solves a lot of economical issues, but it's not good for us as people.
You got to look at the data side of it. I mean, there's a way of tracking currencies now through serial numbers and stuff, isn't there? There's a element of traceability to it, but once it goes online, it's all that data. Like you say, you can use it to implement monetary policies, and that data is essential for them then to allow them to control.
It'll tighten the curve between QE and QT, won't it? It'll keep it nice and balanced to a point, and then you bring AI into the mix. You run all that data with the AI that's coming out, and it's a weird world we're going into.
You create a new form of like stimulus for the economy. It wouldn't be like you're just relying, like right now, like the tools that central banks like the Fed and Bank of England have now are very limited. Like, for example, I know swap lines were just opened up like last month by the Fed as well, which hasn't been done often. It was done in 2008, but like, you know, there's only a few different instruments you can use to actually stimulate an economy, right? But when you have a CBDC, you increase the amount of data you have by such a huge amount, and you can find ways to actually stimulate the economy that tend to be very nuanced or specific, instead of just giving like a wide, broad, okay, let's just pump as much money into MBS and treasuries, right? You can really hone down on
you can target one aspect of a basket, can't you? Like one aspect of the CPI basket, you could target that.
Exactly. Which I don't know whether that'd be better or for worse in terms of how central banks use that. But yeah.
Well, this is like a Western Union alternative here in the UAE called Joya Lucas. That's how you pronounce it. They've got the partnership with XRP, or they're exploring one.
Can I just go a segue there, Aaron? I just saw Dogecoin roll up on your screen. 8 cents, yeah. 8.5 cents it went up to. I remember me and Aaron were debating right at the crash of Circle and USDC that Doge would see a huge pump. I backed it with a pretty big notional long, and closed it far too early by the looks of things.
Where is it? Let me have a look.
Yeah, Doge went up to 8.5 cents.
The closing profit though, yeah.
50% rise from the Circle lows.
So 1 minute. There we go.
There's no one really been talking about it too much either,
When was the Circle thing?
So about a month ago, March.
Was Elon Musk involved in this pump?
No, he wasn't. But that's it there, Aaron. It was like 6.3. Yeah, about there. Probably, no, about from highs about a 35% rise. Yeah.
That's gone up quite nicely, but I think it's just following the market though. Like
it is, but no one's really been talking about it too much, because obviously from a decentralized aspect, it has just as much decentralized capabilities as Bitcoin.
Does it though?
That I'm actually shocked it hasn't gone up more. I'm honest with you.
Yeah, but is it actually decentralized? I thought there was like 3 account holders that hold most of the supply.
Well, well, I mean, with Bitcoin, I think like there's a very small amount of people, wallets that hold most of the supply as well, right? So, I mean, if we can go down that route, we can be talking for hours, couldn't we? I mean, but like it
Kill
still
each
proves
other,
what.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally old then, mate.
Yeah, Dirk's been on one. But I think I'm still like, in terms of, we look at crypto, like Rune is still being neglected. Like this is looking for a squeeze. Look how every day it just does nothing.
The weekly, yeah.
And do you know how crazy this is? It's been integrated into Trust Wallet now. So it's the native swap facility behind Trust Wallet, and they're managing millions of dollars in transactions on a daily basis. But there's just zero attention on it. Like, but the community who's backed it hasn't left.
You've been pumping Rune for some time, Aaron. It must, you must feel like it's got some potential there. It's not a typical coin that people talk about for a week and forget about it. It's been on your radar for a very long time, hey?
Yeah, look, it's from the highs. It solves a huge problem within crypto. Like they were trying to solve this problem before it was a problem.
It's waiting to get there, isn't it? Sideways movements until we get to that trend line.
Yeah, you
I
see
think when
that.
you say like, are we looking for a squeeze? Like, how available is it? Like in terms of like on perpetual markets, like and what's the liquidity? No.
What's the volume?
Yeah, because if it's really getting shorted to high hell, then you could make that case. I'd like to see that.
Like I think we're gonna go sideways for a few more weeks, and then on the 10th of July, this is gonna be the most astronomical number anyone has ever seen on this date, 10th of July.
I'm buying Rune, man. Buying some more.
It just solves such a big issue, and I just don't know, like when all of the big dexes were pumping after the FTX collapse, it just didn't get the attention it deserves. And it solves a huge issue. Like you have no swapping, no wrapping, sorry. So you could do level 1 native swapping, so BTC direct to ETH. So it just makes a hell of a lot of sense, especially within a wallet. And as a function of a wallet, if you were to build a decentralized wallet, why wouldn't you have that as like your back-end infrastructure?
Do you know what? I think it's been overshadowed by like the L2s, maybe.
Yeah.
Like the Arbitrum, the Optimism, the new ZK Sync coming out, Starknet too. They probably just like kind of forgotten about it a little bit, if I'm honest. Because like the amount of projects that got built on all of those L2s on the back of them been huge, and I think Rune has had less of a take up really. Yeah, that could be another factor.
But 10th of July, everyone, mark your calendars for the biggest pump you've ever seen.
But tell me about Rune tell me about Rune anyway, Aaron, in terms of like how the underlying like dApps are actually built out. They're kind of built out by the community, right? They're not built out by like almost outside.
So there was, when it was first launched, it was a Binance hackathon project. So there was no actual official team. Like it wasn't a company that was formed, and it was formed for the event. But it's just a liquidity protocol. That's all it solves as a first purpose, and its only purpose. But as you said, like it's hugely community supported, and it's probably one of the most decentralized projects out there. Every time there's been an exploit, they've made everyone whole again. The super supportive team. Like I actually can't fault the project, and the transparency and the way they deal, the audits on their code. Like there's a lot of shady skullduggery within the crypto industry, and these guys just don't have any of it.
I think we need to get you a C-level position at 4chain.
I've vouched for them for too long. I used to have a validator for it.
Okay. I don't know what else was on the agenda, Aaron, but I know I was wondering if anyone at the school's been keeping track of the ordinals market at all.
Or the BTC one? No, I haven't actually even opened it, and I kept telling you to look at it, and I still haven't looked at it.
Yeah,
I haven't. Have you bought
it's an
something?
Sometimes I get embarrassed even talking about buying some of these things. It's like kind of, I feel like it almost like takes away just like all of my years of like research and like
Who owns an
knowledge
NFT? Who actually owns an NFT here?
Fuck that shit.
You don't have one at all?
I don't believe in it, man. It's a fucking scam.
Maybe
It's
I'll-
purely an introduction to fucking actual NFT usage, the likes of mortgage agreements, bus
Yeah.
passes, ID cards. These fucking cartoon monkeys, mate. It's fucking a bubble.
Yeah, but-
This is
yeah,
just
but even if
Tech-
what's done with what you say, sorry, even if what you say though doesn't that make the inception of it, like the first generation, doesn't that make
Yeah.
it a collectible in itself? The good ones, like the Bored Apes, surely their price will go up in the future as a collectible, as it being the inception of the NFT. You know what I
The
mean?
history,
Bored
yeah, a bit of
Apes
history.
solidified itself. That'll always be what it is now. That's
Yeah.
created its own thing. But
The
other
new
than
ones
that,
are
everything
just-
else is just
Yeah.
a copycat, isn't it? They're
I
just
agree.
trying to be
I
the
agree.
next Bored Ape, and it never will be, because it's that conception where they got so big so quick. Everyone wanted a Bored Ape. The value is purely what people are willing to pay for it, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
I think
it's-
so. Like when you start going into like bubble territory, I could then just give you the counter argument that if you look at tech stocks, some of the price earnings are still like 150x, and like it's just literally a place to put money, and that is the way the market is at the moment. I think like if you're a traditional investor, it's easy to shout bubble, and that's something I did. I shouted that a year and a half ago. But the market we've never quite seen this before, and Aaron, I'm sure may back me up on this, as to, just how silly the market. I don't know if the market.
I don't think it's silly. I bought 2 of them. I'm more than happy. Like, I can see you. I'm looking at the screen and I can see you guys complaining because you didn't buy them. Like, that's the negativity. Like, you're coming at me with the negativity because you didn't buy them. I bought them. Look at my face.
Nah, bro, look, I'll hold my hands up. I didn't believe in Bitcoin. I didn't believe in NFT, and I've had my words twice. But it's one of them things where it's like, I still believe Bitcoin is the introduction to CBDCs, to digital currencies. I still believe it's a government implemented system that'll build trust within this area. Everyone trusts crypto. That even the word itself, it comes across as if it's something secretive, and it was presented as anti-bank, anti-establishment, when actually it's the opposite. If you look at the Bitcoin blockchain, it's completely trackable, transparent. It's none of those things that people actually believe it is. Now, that's the same for the NFTs, like Bored Apes. They've got, like, you can put your Bored Ape on your tag watch now, your little digital tag watch, which they can then increase the value of your watch. Because they've got those areas, they're kind of safe, but everything else behind that, the true use of an NFT is for such bigger things than artwork. Like, that's just one small use in the millions of applications that NFTs can be used for.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's like an argument you get into like later down the road. But when you ask anyone, like if you see so many NFT influencers going, what do you genuinely value from an NFT project? And people are always kind of BSing about utility, and it's not.
Bro, it's all about the utility. It's all about the utility.
It's all about making 100x. That's the only reason people get involved.
It's just it's super utility, man. It's super utility.
Don't forget how good the artwork is. Like, that's a stunning piece of fucking JPEG there.
Yeah. PNG, baby. PNG.
Craftsmanship is immaculate.
I think with Bored Apes as well, like the Yuga Labs has become like massively inflationary. They've launched like 6 projects at the back of Bored Apes, and it's been there's been some questionable acts that have happened. And yeah, I mean, if you're talking about a market that's manipulated, just look at that right there, especially with what's happened with Blur.
Was the second metaverse project, Blur?
Sorry?
Was Blur the second metaverse project?
No, Blur was so Blur's an NFT marketplace which pretty much undercutted OpenSea, so it's the largest volume now. So they have 0% royalties essentially, and also you got paid Blur points for essentially wash trading, and then the more points you had, you got the airdrop in the Blur airdrop, which they listed at like $500 million market cap. And Matchy, who obviously owns a heck of a load of Bored Apes, is obviously manipulating the market. And I think he made maybe like a few mil from the airdrop alone of Blur. Again, everybody hang tight. It's a project I'm working on where you may be able to benefit from a similar situation like that. But and I'm sure Aaron will make it clear in the mesh group. But yeah, I think it's become very, very inflationary. I remember being with you, Aaron, actually, and ApeCoin launching, and now you've got Other Deed as well. I don't know if you checked that out, guys, on OpenSea, but that's Yuga Labs' plan to launch the metaverse, like a game, so you can purchase land. That's probably got one of the largest volumes on any NFT marketplace at the moment. It's called Other Deed. They've got Mutant Apes. They've got Kennel Club. They've obviously done the Ape Staking DAO as well. They've got a lot of different products off the back of it. And you've seen like a big price drop in Bored Apes recently. There's actually a really interesting project I saw the last couple of days. It's called Nakamoto's.
Oh, I've seen that,
20, yeah, Nakamigos, sorry. Floor price yesterday when I checked was like 0.3. It's now nearly 0.5 now. There's a lot of volume on it. I told myself yesterday, I'll buy tomorrow. Hopefully it's the same price, and now it's not. It's up 20%.
Well, this is where I think like your project's so good is that you could actually allow people to benefit from NFTs in a more liquid environment.
Yeah, and it's like you don't have to hold it on chain or worry about like managing the NFT, and it's like you literally just have it. It's completely non-custodial. You can take a speculative position out in the price of the underlying the underlying spot floor price, I suppose you could say, of the NFT market, which it's the way the market's going to go, definitely, because look at the price of Bored Apes, guys. It's 60 Ethereum. People can't afford that. They want to buy a fractionalized piece of it, or have a 5 ETH notional position with 10 times margin. There's only one platform. Exactly. We need anyone that's like Aaron. They need that platform. Like, if anyone came to me, Vesta came to me and said, "Who's your target market?" I would just put Aaron Astley in front of them. That would be it. Just like that, with his
these degenerate retards who don't understand.
You just reminded me as well. I do have a BFK hero.
What's a BFK
just
hero?
sat there. The DeFi Kingdoms, the hero NFT.
Yeah.
So you can send it out on like little quests and shit. And I got bored of doing it, man. Yeah, it's still going. They moved over to native. They started on Harmony Network, didn't they? Then they moved to Avalanche. Now they've got their own mainnet, which burns the jewel, which is their native coin, every transaction, which it was quite a clever play. I mean, I don't know how many people are still on it. I've just logged into me thing now. But whatever happened to that guy who was the fucking combine harvester? Like,
yeah, I was gonna ask, he had like $50,000 or something in it, didn't he? Like some amount.
He made me invest into this, mate. He was going hard, and then once the fucking crypto crash happened, that guy disappeared. I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
He's just lost it on his combine harvester.
unless he worked for DFK, like he might have been a fucking mole.
No, he didn't. He was in blockchain. He was in blockchain. I think it just I can imagine that being quite hard when that whole network came down.
If any of you guys have ever provided liquidity on Uniswap, you'll have an NFT, because they issue out an NFT whenever you provide liquidity.
Well, even on concentrated.
Well, I used Uniswap to fucking get Shiba Inu when it first came out, and mate, I put £500 into that on the release day. If I had sold it at its high, I'd have been a fucking multi-millionaire. And
what did you do?
I just sold it, man. I was new to crypto. Yeah, of course, mate. I sold it at a loss. I sold everything at a loss. And then the 2021 bull cycle kicked in, and it was like fucking, it was insane, mate. I don't regret it. I've
I
learned
mean,
from it. Like, I'll never sell again until it's fucking right.
This is what's
I
bred
mean,
him into the XRP zealot, you know, like that. That missing out on that has not taken the
We're into
second chance
XRP
now.
because it doesn't really move. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
actually, that's a lie. That's a lie. This week it's had a big movement.
Hey, it is fucking 50p, man. I bought loads of XRP at like 25. So I could have sold double then and I just held it because even that I didn't get excited. I used to get excited when I'd see a 20% move, and now I'm just like, it's just a bit of fundamentals, bit of fucking FOMO in the market. Like I am selling once that court case was released, and the like if it comes out Ripple's won, I'm watching the chart and selling on that wick. Like as soon as it
But a close
goes,
at this level, like if it can close above, what is this?
I don't focus too much on the technical
0.56,
analysis
it'll
side of
blow
it,
up.
purely because this is going to go parabolic. Like if it gets a positive ruling, it's
Yeah.
going to be a vertical climb on the chart, and we know what happens after that. It's going to come tumbling down. All these people who've been holding XRP for 10 years from pennies, they're going to be selling hard, man, and it'll crash it instantly.
interesting strategy, because I think a lot of the so-called XRP army also expected, like, it's a basic kind of thought process of, oh, what were the 2017 highs? Okay, so 2021 cycle will obviously, probably 5x that, and then that never happened. So I think there's like so many XRP holders like holding a bag. I can't imagine. I can probably agree to that strategy that, if there's a favorable position for Ripple, yeah, I think there would be a big sell-off after a pump. Definitely.
It'll come crashing, mate. I mean, I know a guy, he's got 50,000 XRP and he paid fucking nothing for them. And it was all them bull cycles have been missed because of the court case. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. But if you look at what's happening now in the CBDCs, this is one of the only cryptos that's actually positioned to sit right in this financial system. And it's working with the banks. It's doing everything right. Where I know you're DeFi, Aaron, but like I see DeFi existing, but I think it's purely going to be centralized cryptos that boom.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like at the end of the day, I actually know what I believe there will be is I believe that we'll have a multi-dimensional financial system. I think that you'll have the DeFi space and those that can navigate a Web3 interface and connect with wallets, decentralized wallets, etc., will operate within that space. And then you'll have a bridge to bridge that space with this kind of government interface financial system. But those government financial interface systems will be completely different from one another. So it's not like you've got this one system. I think you'll have your own system.
Well, you've got companies like, I don't know if you've noticed, but have you seen the Starbucks app? I seen a guy posted a video on it, the way they've essentially become a bank. They're not a coffee. They sell coffee, but it's a bank that sells coffee. And what they've done is their app, you can upload money to them in the hopes that you're gonna spend that coffee sometimes. They have 1.5 billion worth of liquidity that they could invest in whatever they wanted. Yeah. And like, what happens then when they just create their own currency, the Star coin, the Starbucks coin, do you know what I mean? And it's like, they can then start issuing out fucking money for people to buy coffees.
Well, that's the thing, is money won't actually be a thing. It will just be like within a consumer economy.
It's a token that you can use, isn't it?
Exactly. It's just tokens. It's not currency. Currency would be something that I guess would exist on a trading layer. But actual currency won't exist on a retail consumer level. It would be all tokens.
But it's like it's becoming gamified, isn't it? This is what me and Kev went down the rabbit hole, and we believe that the blockchain idea comes from a tech company, of course, like a gaming type company. And this is what it is, man. Like, we're going to work, we complete our mission, we get paid our tokens, and then we can go and trade them.
Bethesda?
Yeah, that's what. I'm convinced it's Bethesda. I'm convinced. And now they're owned by Microsoft, which puts it right in line for metaverse. Like, Bill Gates comes in, buys it. But look at the owner of Bethesda. Look at all the shit he's done. He's like in with the government. He's in with he's heavily involved in the augmented reality side of things, VR.
Play to pay, the pay to play came in, you know what I mean, through GameFi. It was like, it's a social experiment in itself, getting all these kids, you know what I mean. It's like they could manipulate young minds into, you know what I mean. Like it was FIFA and EA Sports and other games, Fortnite. They're basically creating digital currencies before the fact, you know what I mean. So, like you say, it's like it was like the game inside was a bit of an experiment, you know, to run it. Like, I don't know, it's just definitely. And
It's
then you
got
see
to
NFTs.
be. It's just Silicon Valley taking over. They've got fucking leverage on the governments through data. Do you know what I mean? They control the world through data, and this is just another thing of implementing a digital currency. Is just more of that data, and it's
them kids playing them games. They're the next generation, bro. So like that was like us, you know what I mean? We were the target for them FIFA coins. Yeah, that's the experimentation. That's the data gathering. That's like, you know what I mean. You can see what kind of, you can start gathering data. Oh, it's mad, isn't it, mate? It's like, you know, look at it.
Liam's put a good point. I think Liam's put a really good point.
Oh my, the casino chips. Like the thing about children and tech as well to note. You could argue that back in the day, if you wanted your child to buy something, the parents had to buy it. You know, you couldn't market directly to children in like the 70s. Now these days, it's open access to brainwash my little spawn into wanting to purchase like fucking like over-inflated cost of
you get it all the time, mate. Every single bit that comes on the telly, the kids, daddy, I want that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you see the target audience is them kids who are watching the telly. It's no longer the parents.
But it never has been.
Like,
it never has been. It's always been the children. Like that's always been like the gateway into the parents is through the children.
Because... the gateway into the parents' heart, mate. Mommy, daddy, can I have that? It's like, oh, fuck's sake.
The point that I've said, mentioned in the chat, like the primary reason casinos prefer chips over cash or whatever, like I have made and lost a lot of money in casinos. Yeah. But like nothing that would be considered an issue. Like I have many impulse control issues, but gambling isn't one. I've unironically won a jackpot in slots and proceeded to lose the entire fucking thing. I think it was like $11,000. So like,
I used to be I used to be quite a big poker player, and like it's a clear correlation. You know, if every time I placed a call or a raise and I had to put my card details in every time I did it, I would think about that a lot more.
Yeah, correct. And that's exactly what with kind of like your tokenomics of purchases and things like that. That's what arcades do as well, lest we forget. When you go to arcade, you load up the card so that you can go ahead and spend the money as it goes. You know, you don't really think, oh, well, you're paying like 1,000 points or whatever to like whack a monkey or some shit off. And like the you wouldn't like if you had to hand over like some sort of noted currency and it was like 19 dirhams, you'd be like, what the fuck's wrong with me? You know, I ordered food last night, 183 dirhams. Yes, a lot of money.
You ordered 183 dirhams worth of food.
Yeah, I'm a gourmand, Aaron. Okay, I like to treat my body like a temple. All right, I'm a fat cat. But anyway, look, the reason it was so easy for me to do it is because of the ease of using an app, using there's very little, like that's the thing about OnlyFans or something like that. Yeah, these guys. I mean, I should be working for them. I don't subscribe to any of it because I'm like in on it. You know what I mean? I get it. The biggest thing that would stop me from subscribing to keeping some single motherfucking like supported is the fact that I'd have to sit there and see the reflection of my face in my fucking laptop screen as I typed in my card details. Yeah.
Black screen of judgment.
Yeah. Trust me. So like, look, and I mean like, and I've never made it that far, yeah, but I have before looked to purchase like a guitar or something or whatever, and like been literally about to put my card details in and go like, wait a second, are you a fucking idiot? And then proceeded to get out of it. You know
what? That's like really true. I think you summarized it in a humorous way.
As soon as they remove that element, self-control and discipline, impulse has no what do you want to call it?
So
like critical control points in your body where you know, like, okay, well, I actually have to go there and swipe my card. You know, I actually have to do that. Once that bit's gone, people are going to buy so much shit that they regret, and it's that's all they got to do then is put spending limits on things like that, make cash expire or whatever you like, whatever. People are just money's going to move so quick. So quick.
This is Web3. This is Web3 though. Integrating your wallet, you don't need to type your card details in. You just click a button, it's done.
Yeah. That's why it would make, to me, from a like, okay, well, if I were like a business development manager of like the financial system, right? Like, there's me in an office. That would be my number one concern. How do we get rid of people having to actually fucking like look at themselves afterwards? You know?
Yeah, I think as well, it says that about gas. You know, I'm more than willing to pay sort of $5, $6, $7 in gas to just like transfer an ERC20 token. But when I actually think about it, if I had to pay it via Visa to transfer it, I'm thinking, what am I doing?
Exactly.
Transfer money. So, you know, but
you just go, hey,
You question at the cash machine as well. If you're getting cash out and you're being charged to remove your own money as well, like people will always go, well, actually, I'll just go to another one, or they'll use the card. Yeah. Just for the sake of it, you're being charged to get your own money out, and it's like, obviously, there's two elements. It's a business, that's a service that's there. You should pay for it, but the other side of it, it's people don't want to pay to use their own cash. It's principle.
Liam, maybe I need to onboard you as like a chief of redistributive token sales or something like that. You know, trading that stakers get back. How can they spend it back on the platform with the tokens that they got given back? You know,
It's like that scene on Casino where the guy wins big and then they make him come back and spend it all, isn't it? He's about to get on the plane. Have you seen the movie Casino, Robert De Niro?
Yeah. No, the thing to know, I mean, like the people, like you got to look at like, and I mean, I'm sorry that these are the parallels I'm drawing. Look at prostitutes. Yeah, prostitutes.
That's how every great story starts. That's how.
No. Like, I've spoken to so many in my life, like, because, you know, they always come and they're like, you know, we go, bear in mind, we go with like a group of like 6, 7 guys who aren't married, like in their 40s, who have destroyed their lives every time we go overseas. Yeah. And I'm just there cheerfully, you know, watching, you know, you go there, I speak to them all the time and I say to them, like, so like, how do you secure the customer? You know, what do you do? And some, like 9 out of 10 won't tell you, but 1 out of 10 will. And obviously walk to the ATM. The guy's not got cash, just walk him to the ATM, because when he gets to that ATM alone, he'll just leave. But if you're there, now there's another weapon here. Yeah, it's not about ease, it's about being polite. Yeah, that guy will do it, as far as I interpret that, out of being polite, because he's wasted this much of the girl's time. What's he gonna do now? Not draw the money and be a puss? You know, you know what I mean? They're like,
you're talking from experience here, Liam.
Yeah, whatever. No,
this is a guilty confession.
No. It's not like that. It's not. But what I'm saying is, like,
I completely understand what you're saying. It's like when you have a beggar. Like, I'm going to use the situation of a beggar who has actually walked me to an ATM because I said I haven't got cash.
Yeah. You're fucked. You're not going to be rude.
Yeah, and then I just felt like, oh, okay, well, I'm at an ATM now. I don't even use cash.
Do you know how many people have been killed by after they invited a stranger into their home? Yeah, like someone knocks on your door and says, "Oh, can I come in?" And you know there's something sketchy about that. Yeah.
Why would you let that person in? Like, you don't know this person, they've knocked on your door.
Your social conditioning or whatever is, you know, in like Western society, let's say, is so centered around, like in the suburbs and stuff, like there's sort of like, you got to be cool, you got to be polite, you got to be, I'm very much impolite with strangers, you know, I'll spit on people's windows while I'm driving, you know, what to do. And that's because I'm not subscribed to OnlyFans. I'll have the cash drawn before I get to the bar, and no one's gonna fucking kill me in my own home. All right, like, but if you look at those things, then those are the models that those are the sort of like the obstacles that you start to see a lot of the tech companies and a lot of the distribution companies are trying to cross. You know, it's just super evident in the seediest parts of life. You know, what's the worst thing about buying drugs, guys? Not that I would know. What's the worst thing about buying drugs? You got to meet the fucking guy.
Yeah, it's the
you got to meet the guy. and he's all right, lad. You're sat in the Honda Civic. You're wondering, are these aftermarket chairs? And that's it. And then that's the thing. You don't want to be in these sorts of situations. So yeah, as soon as they alleviate it, no one's fucking leaving home. I mean, I go to Spinneys to prove a point. Yeah, I go there and I do my shopping by hand to prove I'm fucking known there. But I go in there. You know what it is in Spinneys. So Spinneys, for you guys who don't know, is
Spinneys?
It's like it's a supermarket.
So I thought it was a lap dancers.
It's
before,
back
in the day, I was like Waitrose. Yeah, I would be like shopping, and on my left I would see the 63-year-old British pilot who probably had a Filipino wife at home that he was buying stuff for, and I'd look to my right and I'd see the South Africans who have moved on to colonize another region. And things were right as they should be. Now I look left, I see InstaShop. I look right, I see fucking Deliveroo. I look left, I see Talabat. All these poor buy-subs from fucking Pakistan who need to go and pick out some feta cheese, the correct feta cheese brand, for someone who couldn't be fucked to get in their car and drive there. They'd rather just pay the 9 dirhams delivery, because their card details already in the machine, baby. Already in it.
I'll give you a really good example of that. Like, we don't even go to the supermarket really anymore unless we want something like special to cook. It's literally just on an app. Like, we'll message the butcher and the butcher will deliver within 10 minutes. We'll message like the grocery store and they'll bring potatoes in the same amount of time. So everything lands on our doorstep within 10 minutes.
Listen, mate. When you have kids, mate, you go to the supermarket for a break.
This is why there's an obesity problem in Dubai.
It's true. But it's not even an obesity problem. Like, there's a huge type 2 diabetes problem as well.
Diabetes, yeah.
Number one in the world.
Accessible. Like, people don't even have to. People used to walk the shop. You get some exercise. Like, fucking. Like, even now, like, shop at the top of your road. Like, you just walk to it.
How many kids, Michael? How many kids do you see on them lecky scooters now?
Oh yeah, everywhere.
Oh, everywhere, even here as well.
It's like Wally. It's gonna be like Wally. Having all these fat people on fucking wheelchairs, like fucking.
Yeah, we used to pedal everywhere or walk.
But that's the thing. Like, I used to skate or ride a bike. Like, that was your 2 means of transport, or a scooter, like a manual scooter, like what did they used to call them?
Micro scooter.
My micro scooter, but the razor scooter. Yeah.
Take your shins off.
But I was riding razor scooters still, up until I think just before I got my license, the age of 17, 18, and I just thought it was such a convenient way to travel. And I guess I was just ahead of my time. Yeah, I was just ahead of my time.
You've never seen it. Watch the Disney film WALL-E, or there's a summarized 2-minute clip on YouTube, and it's scary because it shows everything from the corporations controlling them. They're all on this spaceship. They're all overweight. They don't do anything.
Disney.
It's the thing is, it's really dark, the story behind it, and it's scary. That's the way we're going. Everything was just spoke about then, and it's that's the future we're heading to, where everything's just at a click of a button. You don't need to fucking move. VR headsets, you'll be able to socialize in the metaverse.
So that's why we are if you really want to look at what your society is probably going to be I reckon in the UK and the West, there's going to be a lot more control measures put into place. But here's a really good blueprint of what it's going to be. We do already have 15-minute cities here. They're not regulated and controlled, but they're kind of there based on the way pedestrian access is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So within Dubai being a city within the UAE has a load of cities within it. You've got academic city, healthcare city, motor city, industrial city, knowledge village,
education.
Yeah, everything's broken into this, these little communities, and now they're taking it to one more step further, where those little communities will now be what they refer to as resort living. So you've got where you live is where your school is, where your hospital is, and you don't really have to leave there. Like the mall's there as well, so you don't have to leave your little community.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the cities, why it initially started like that, is based on trade licenses. So what they used to do is you could only rent or purchase properties in certain locations and things like that, which is quite clever actually, if I think about it. But no, look, I mean, like the thing to note, I deal with a lot of people, like a lot of people throughout like a year, ton. And as soon as I see someone that I have to deal with that's like my age or younger, so I'm 27, yeah. So like I just know I'm gonna fucking steamroll them. I just know that they don't do anything but sit at home and watch TV, jack off, and fucking order food and like have their deliveries done and stuff. And that's what's really troubling. You know how many guys I've made cry that were like 6'2", you know, just like
Liam is 4'3".
Yeah, well, 5'4" maybe. No. 5, yeah, 5'6", 5'7", you know. But I mean, like, they've never ever like, I mean, guys, I've chastised people, and you can see the tears welling in their eyes. It's like the most like pathetic thing that I've ever seen in my life, and I encounter it non-stop. And that's a byproduct.
People are too sensitive, like the newer.
Yeah, because they sit at home on the fucking internet.
Yeah.
You know, I know, like I wake, like for me, I come in on Mondays or whatever, like Mondays, like I taste like blood in my mouth when I wake up on Mondays, you know, because I just know everyone's going to be pathetic. Everyone's going to be slow. They just had the 2 days at the week, and I just go on an absolute tear. Most productive days. I went to work today. It's a Sunday, you know, but there's no one out there. So, I mean, that's the really concerning thing. You talk about like the wall, yes, the physiological part and everything like that, but like, who's gonna actually fucking do anything in 10 years? Because no one gets anything done right now. I would say, at least in my industry, that the work is being carried by guys who are in their like 30s, like they just escaped it, yeah, 30 to 35, let's say 30 to 60 years old, yeah. But the new people entering the workforce are such pusses. It's fucking unreal to have
That's
to.
the competition.
That is the word of the show today.
I agree. Coming from a construction background, like the apprentices and the younger lads coming up now, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, raised on TV, man. They all think they're fucking like, I had to say to a guy, like, you think you're the fucking like star of this movie? You know, like, who do you think this is? You know, do you think this is like the like the training?
Sick line.
It's true. Like, I'm not saying I'm the star. I just doing my job and paid to do something. That's another thing. It's very difficult to get children like to understand, like children, but like young guys to understand, and girls, to be fair. I hate them too. More maybe. The is you are being remunerated for something. Yeah, I'm not asking anyone to do me a favor. You're being paid to do the job.
They feel old. Yeah, they feel like yeah.
Entitlement. Entitlement.
Yeah,
That's the way to describe it.
Like, yeah, like they just cannot believe that there's actually something now expected of them. Like, you should be grateful that they came. You know, that's it. They did their job by showing up. That's how they see it. Now you're going to actually ask them to do something. Try and get someone who's like 22 years old to do something they don't want to do and not threaten violence. Like, that's the only way I get it done. I literally just say, like, I will
violence
kill you if you don't do this. You know? And luckily, there's such pussies that you can say that, and they go, okay, I'll do it now, and then they cry like later on. But like that to me is like the greatest concern possible. Absolutely possible. We are fucked. We are so fucked. The West, if you like, is fucked. Absolutely.
We're trialing a four-day working week here in the UK. We've been doing it for a long time.
Oh, we've already done that. Like, we have one emirate that's already doing 3 days, 3 days a week.
6 days. I haven't even heard. I've heard it on the news, but I've not heard ever anyone in my
started in Scotland. There's only a few companies doing it, but I believe in it. To be honest, you make your people happy, you get more productivity. It
depends what industry, what sector, what it depends. It depends on.
It does, but you can work around it. So you'd split the shifts up, so there's 24/7 working. Doesn't mean your business has to operate on a 4-day week. You could operate 7 days a week, but people are working 4 days.
That's what I mean. I work 6 days mostly. You know what I mean? So it's like it limits some people if it was enforced, but obviously it's not going to be enforced, is it?
I think it applies to everything. It's working smart and not hard. Like the traditional way of working is to get the hours in and work as hard as you can. But if you keep your workers happy, you get the most out of them. And if it's leading by consent and not force, it's a huge difference. It's and I think a 4-day working week could get a lot of people on side.
That's an interesting debate to have, I think.
Yeah, I'd love to quickly just jump in here about yeah,
I knew you'd get on that one.
Yeah, oh my God, yeah, you rile me up. Maybe you're responsible enough to wield those tools. You know what I mean? Maybe Michael, you are the guy who knows, okay, well look, these are the 4 days I have to work, therefore I have to work. Try that shit with 99% of college graduates. Oh, no, not even college graduates. Let's do one. We'll make it even worse. The majority of people, let's say at that age, like 18-year-olds who are not college graduates, try that shit with them. My God, they will never show up.
That's the day apart.
You know, I said to a guy once, it's okay if you're 10 minutes late. Yeah, because he drives from afar. He's a fucking idiot as well. But anyway, it's okay if you're 10 minutes late. He was late consistently for like 2.5 months, and I didn't say anything. And then one day I literally just took him aside and said, if you're late tomorrow, I will fire you. And then he was late the next day. I didn't fire him, like I made him cry. And then obviously he's been on time ever since. But you can't, people just cannot be trusted with that responsibility. Otherwise, like someone's got to work the drive-throughs, man. You can't let the people who work the drive-throughs make the decisions because they don't make good decisions. That's how.
Not necessarily true though, as well. So
not all the time. No, I'm not saying that in the greater.
If you look at, you mentioned earlier about Toyota as well. So that Toyota are one of the leading companies in the world for production, and they generated this. It all happened after World War II. Like you've got this thing like Lean and Six Sigma. I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like production techniques. And this is all about leading from the bottom. Like I remember the first speech I seen on it, he got the people to draw the hierarchy of the business on a whiteboard, and they all went for the typical pyramid with the CEO at the top. This guy just walks over and flips it upside down, and it was a powerful way of delivering it, because it is all about the customers first. Without the customer, you've got no business. And getting into the shop floor, listening to your employees, and they have got the best ideas. They know how the business runs better than the CEO does, because they're on the ground running the shit. And that's
the whole idea behind the mesh organizational structure that I developed that sits behind my business. Like I've already drawn this out for Nick. Like the way my whole business is structured was to address all of the situations that you've like just pointed out there, that you're, as a company, you've got people, not even like your employees that are on the ground, but my suppliers. There's stuff there's value that they know and can give advice that my employees might not know, or I won't know, but we needed to incorporate them within our organization structure and remove the communication boundaries in order to do so. Anyway, you'll find that in my book coming out in 2024.
Nah, it's good. Definitely, if you've not seen it, look into it, man. I think it's called The Toyota Way, the book, and it's powerful. Businesses that are run not using these methods, I think, are the ones that don't succeed. And I've seen it in personal experiences. People haven't even been allowed to go home and grieve, and the psychological impact it has, and people don't respect the management because they haven't got this. The respect's earned, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? If you don't treat your employers right, then you're not going to get the most out of them. Now, even they give the people the ability to stop the production line. That was unseen before. Like if you stop a production line, it starts from that second that the losses are going down. But they've realized that, like, obviously they have the least amount of defects in any production because of that. So if there is a problem, it's stopped and resolved right away to stop those defected items getting out, because in the long run, that costs more money than stopping the production line then. And it's having that change in mindset of like the old way of thinking and making health and safety is paramount, because an injured employee means less production. and it's crazy, mate. Like you implement that into any business, lean just strips down the waste. Six Sigma is all the ways of thinking of, but it's really in depth. It's something that if I was going to stay in work and not go down the trading route, it's something I wanted to set up as consultant in this area. Do you have like black belts in Lean Six Sigma? You muted there, Aaron.
Yeah, my stepdad's a black belt in Six Sigma. What you find with people who are into Six Sigma, it's all they talk about is Six Sigma. It's like
it's frustrated me in work. It's something that's bothered me all the time. Like there's such basic things. I'm all about increasing performance and efficiency. It's such basic common sense that people just miss, and it's frustrating because to get it across in a business can be quite difficult because you've got these narrow-minded leaders that aren't open to change or new ideas from the bottom. They think they know what's best. They've done it for 20 years or whatever.
Yeah,
they're not open to suggestions. So it's something that's but obviously all these experiences, when I start running my own businesses, it's something that I'm going to get right from the beginning.
Well, that's it. Like these are just lessons that you go through and you learn and you take on board. But there's two ways to go around that. Like especially if you were to take your analogy of cars and auto manufacturing, there's really two trains of thought on this one. So you've got the Toyota methodology, which is a Kaizen approach of continuous improvement over time, and that's the Japanese word for it, and that's really the basis of what ISO is like. ISO is about continuous improvement. All of these standard quality ISO standards for quality, that's built off the same thing, and it's like what you were just talking about now. Six Sigma is built off the Kaizen methodology that was applied when Toyota first did it. But if you take a company like Mercedes, and this was like in the 1980s, 1990s, and I think the same even happened to Hyundai or Kia, they faced a similar situation where they made their cars too well. So that was another reason why they were about to go bankrupt. And it was like, this was a time when Mercedes used to offer like a 30-year warranty on their paint job because it was made of like lead paint that was 10 millimeters thick. So cars just never broke down. They were so well made. So then they had to start bringing in depreciation or degradation on the supply chain in order so people came back for spare parts because the businesses just couldn't afford to run.
Yeah, planned obsolescence is the term.
That's it, planned obsolescence.
Yeah,
Apple have it as well.
Yep.
Bled into every industry, I know.
Yeah, Apple have built it in. They're the masters of it. Absolute masters of that.
Anyways, guys, it's been a pleasure. I must go. I'm hungry.
Yeah,
Tell you what,
thanks for that, guys.
this was a good call. I mean, a lot of left field conversation, and I think a professional studio format wouldn't go amiss with.
Did you notice? I just turned the light on at the last minute. Do you see this ring light?
Wow, that makes a huge difference.
That make a big difference
for the cam girling. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You'll see me.
Only fans like
Now your muscle bellies look a bit fuller, Aaron.
Wait, I wonder if there's the cuts.
You've been getting attacked. All right. Cool, guys. Thank you very much. Good chat, Michael. I don't disagree. I just come from a very, what do you call it?
Racist background.
Very liberal background.
Yeah, liberal background. No, my background in work is one of being consistently let down by things that I couldn't imagine people couldn't do. So my distrust in the average person is like extreme.
I also share the same sort of train of thought.
Yeah,
I can be trusted.
But bear in mind also, I'm not big organization. I don't have anyone who handles the human resources or anything like that, let's say. So my teams are like 10 to 15 people, of which 3 or 4 carry the entire brunt of the work, and the other ones take no accountability or whatever. But you need someone to kind of carry something now and then. You still need them. You need them at the bare minimum as a set of hands. But no, what's very difficult to see is a lack of ambition. And why people wouldn't want to do their best. And I understand as well that life isn't about work. Yeah, I understand that. My life is a little bit about work because I get something out of it that has nothing to do with the job. I would be like this in any field. But
What do you get?
Yeah,
out
no,
of
I
it,
know.
man?
I'm sure there are better ways to do it for sure. But I'm going to continue to keep shouting at them, you know, what to do.
No, that's a really good point you just raised there, actually, just like one last one before we go. But like, I actually do think it does get, like, I find it disappointing when I find someone that doesn't have any drive or any spark inside of them. I just think it's just a really sad waste of time.
Why would they need it? Why would they need it? They can order food online. They can sit and watch TV and live out their favorite stories. And they can
But that's not everything, and that's what
pornography on TV and everything. I tell you what pacifies a young guy. Let me tell you. I wouldn't know because I actually do shit. But I mean, I've seen friends absolutely destroyed by like, oh, I said it, you know, like COVID fucked guys up, man.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that fucked people up to be alone with their thoughts like that. You know how many couples I know that broke up because they actually like got to know each other because they ran out of shit to watch on TV. You know, it's sad. But anyway, yeah, cool. I got to run as well. I got to start cooking. You know.
Thanks for that, guys.
Enjoy, everyone.
Take care, guys.
Peace. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Easy, boys.
Peace.